Hi readers, Chris here. Today I'm going to be doing another tag video because I haven't done one in a while, and this is going to be the birth year tag 80s edition because in case you didn't know, I am a child of the 80s. So I was tagged to do this video by my friend over at Pax Panic. Pax, thank you for unofficially tagging me, my fellow 80s friend. I will link her channel down below. I'm not sure if this is the person that originally created it, but I know that she was tagged by a channel called CriminOlly, so I will link them down below, and if for some reason they're not the person that created this tag, once I find that out, I'll tag that person as well. But this is all going to be about the year that I was born in, so, which was, yes, I'm about to say this publicly, 1983. Yes, I was born in 1983. So the first question is, have you read any books from the year that you were born? And yes, I have. I have at least one because, as a lot of you know, I've been reading a lot of Stephen King books, and Stephen King comes out with a book every single year. So the book that I most love that came out in my birth year is going to be Christine by Stephen King. Coincidence? I think not. So yes, Stephen King's Christine was published in 1983. I just happened to be born in 1983, and yes, Chris is short for Christine. So this book is absolutely a favorite of mine, but I am 110% completely biased in that. I've reviewed this book before. I've talked about it before. I will link a review above in case anyone's interested, but this is definitely my favorite book from the year I was born. There are other books that I've read that have come out in my birth year, other Stephen King books, an Anne Rice book. I think Piers Anthony had a book that came out in the year that I was born, but hands down, it's Christine is my favorite. Question number 2 says, have you read any books in the year that you turned 18? So by doing the math, the year that I would have turned 18 is 2001. There are lots of great books from 2001. Dan Brown, Deception Point, Secret Life of Bees, Life of Pi, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I'm just looking through this list here. The first Artemis Fowl book apparently came out in 2001. But the thing that I'm going to go with is Dead Before Dark by Charlaine Harris. Dead Until Dark is the first book in the Sookie Stackhouse series, which is the basis for the show True Blood on HBO, if you're familiar with that. But the Sookie Stackhouse series of books is absolutely one of my all-time favorites. It's got everything I love. It's got vampires and werewolves and mythical creatures. It's got romance and sexy times and mystery and adventure. But it also has a ton of humor. These books are hysterical. For example, there is a vampire version of Elvis that just kind of wanders around in the woods. They call him Bubba. He just kind of shows up once in a while, does one-liners, and wanders off. It's hysterical. It's hysterical. I love these series. I didn't know that this came out in 2001, so that's pretty cool. Definitely one of my favorites. Another favorite of mine that came out in 2001 is The Other Boleyn Girl by Philippa Gregory. I've definitely talked about this book like a ton of times. It is my all-time favorite Philippa Gregory book. The reason I got into reading Philippa Gregory's bibliography. So another one of my absolute all-time favorites. Question number 3 is, of the last 10 books you read, how many of them were published before you were born? I had to double check this one just to be sure, and unfortunately, it's only one. Only one out of the past 10 books that I've read has been published before I was born, because even though some of the Stephen King books I've read lately have been in the 80s, they've been after 1983. So the only one that I finished recently was A Wizard of Earthsea, which by the time of posting this video, I don't think I will have done the review for this yet, Possibly, but not likely. So if I haven't done it yet, it will be coming soon, probably within the next week. So again, clearly most of the books I read are more recent. And if I'm being honest, like, I don't know, I don't have a ton of desire to go back. I'm definitely not super into classics. I'm just not. I'm not. I'm much more into modern day fairy tales, so post we'll say like 90s and beyond. Well, 80s. I did read a lot of stuff from the 80s, so but I don't anymore. So yes, much more into newer things. Sorry, I know some people love the classics and some of them are super great. They're just not for me. Question number 4 is, what is your favorite movie from your birth year? I was looking at all the movies for 1983, and I gotta say, there's a lot of bad ones. There are a lot of bad ones in this list. And a lot of them are Stephen King. Like, there's a Christine movie based on the book. I never saw that, but I assume it's not that good because a lot of those older movies aren't. Cujo, Dead Zone, not really good movies. I'm just looking at the list. Scarface is a good movie, but I wouldn't say it's like my favorite. It's not like, oh, you know what? I want to watch something fun today. I'm going to put on Scarface. Like, that's not something that I would say. Maybe other people would, just not me. Risky Business with Tom Cruise. I guess if I had to pick one from this list, it might be that one, because at least like young Tom Cruise is super hot and he's really cool in that movie and it's a fun movie. So Flashdance, that's also a classic, but I guess I'm going to have to go Risky Business. Even though, yes, The Meaning of Life by Monty Python is on here, also a classic, and Return of the Jedi, which, if I'm being honest, in my younger years, Return of the Jedi was absolutely my favorite Star Wars movie, because as a young girl growing up, there was nothing better to me in my mind than Ewoks. There was nothing better than Ewoks. And the third Star Wars movie, because there was only 3 at that time, that was my favorite. So my husband always rolls his eyes when I say that. But because the third movie, Star Wars movie of the original 3, was always my favorite, I guess then technically Return of the Jedi would be the favorite movie from the year I was born. Question number 5 is, what is your favorite movie from the year you turned 18? Now we're getting into some good movies here. Now we're getting into some good ones. A Knight's Tale is a particular favorite of mine. Heath Ledger, Alan Tudyk, awesome. I remember going to see that movie in the theater and not realizing, I thought that it was like a period piece, like a serious period piece. But as soon as the movie started and started playing Queen, I was like, oh, this is going to be a different type of movie. And I absolutely loved it. If you haven't seen that one, it's amazing. It's so much fun. It's hilarious. It's great. Love it. And then, of course, we have the first Lord of the Rings movie, The Fellowship of the Ring. That came out in 2001. Not my favorite of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I think that movie is way too long. Like the original, it's a bit slow. It's not as exciting compared to the other 2. So I can't say that that one's my favorite, unfortunately. Other than that, there's a lot of corny action movies that came out. Tomb Raider, Black Hawk Down, Pearl Harbor, just to name a few. There's some stupid comedies like Shallow Hal and The Animal. But I think the ones I mentioned are definitely my favorites. So those are all the questions on the list. Not a lot, but super fun stuff to talk about. So now I guess I'm going to tag some friends. I haven't seen too many people do this video, so just throwing it out there. I'm going to tag Jeremy Fee, David's Book Reviews, Bookish Chaz, and Rosie Cockshut. I'm going to tag you. If you haven't done this tag yet, go ahead and do it. Let me know if you did. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel for new weekly book reviews and all sorts of bookish stuff coming your way.